So a lot of ADHD really affects your relationships, and not just the like memory sense or the focus sense. You don't just like forget dates, birthdays, middle names, whatnot. While that is a part of it, because your brain compartmentalizes what's important and what's not, you might like remember small things that are really insignificant, but you might forget a birthday, which is a fun fact that you've not really fun fact, but it's a funny thing about ADHD. A lot of more what the problem is emotional issues, especially if you've got a lot of trouble, when it comes to kind of regulating yourself and need reassurance, and like you constantly overthink about everything. And I feel almost as if I'm not really in control of my own emotions sometimes. And don't get me wrong, I do remember dates. I do remember important events that I need to make sure I write down and whatnot. But I tend to start arguments out of nothing because a lot of my anxiety comes from this like snowball effect from randomly thinking about the most off the wall outlandish scenarios that you come up with in your head because it just makes sense to you, and your brain kind of like tries to make a string of events that connect to each other that might confirm a suspicion of yours that came out of your ass like 2 minutes ago. And it just creates this tension that almost debilitates any sort of emotional stability that you have because you don't know when the next high or low is coming. I didn't really realize this till I got into my first long-term relationship. I say a lot of things that I do not mean at all. And it often takes like 5 minutes for me to realize that I was being an ass or I was being paranoid about nothing. And I wish I could explain to people my thought process, and I wish people could put themselves in my brain to understand what goes on. And it really feels it really feels kind of lonely because when people talk about ADHD, they think, oh, squirrel, they just get distracted easily. But no, it's really a lot more than that. I don't really have a lot of trouble with focus necessarily. I can get work done. I can get schoolwork done. I mean, obviously, I was worse off when I was a kid, but as my brain has developed and my frontal lobe has, grown, I've gotten better, and I've learned how to cope with focus issues. But the one thing that lasts and the one thing that sticks and doesn't go away with time is the anxiety. And in fact, I don't think it doesn't just go away. It doesn't just not go away, but it makes it almost worse with time because you deal with more experiences as you're getting older. You're dealing with more responsibilities. You're dealing with more burdens and whatnot. So imagine the stress and the pressure of life on top of a serious relationship in which you do not know that person's feelings 24/7, even though you really, really want to. And it's almost, it makes me feel almost controlling and neurotic how much I want to be. Like, it makes me feel like a control freak, but I'm not. I really don't want to be this controlling. I just want to know what the other person's feeling constantly so that I don't feel like I'm being emotionally curved. Like, I need constant reassurance, whether it be verbal, physical. I don't know. I don't know. It's trust issues that aren't really developed from my past. I mean, I do have some trust issues from my past, which don't really help my ADHD. But your brain, when you have this condition, it makes up stuff to be traumatized about. It makes up stuff to have trust issues with. I'm not saying I'm a victim. I'm not a victim of anything. I'm just saying that your brain tricks you into thinking that you've been done wrong. You've been, seriously hurt. And don't get me wrong, I've had experiences where I have been hurt. I have been, cheated on, et cetera, but not enough to the point to where I am right now. Not to the point where I can not fully trust a person and their intentions. And I often question what they're doing 24/7. I don't know why I'm necessarily like this. I thought when I first found out I was diagnosed, I mean, obviously I was really young, but when I first was conscious about the fact that I have this condition, I thought, no, I just can't pay attention to school. And any emotional problem I have is because of just something else. It's just something else wrong with me. But no, it really is just ADHD. And one thing that goes along with ADHD is RSD. It's like this thing where you can develop from an early age, either from parental negligence, which I did not experience. I love both my mom and my dad. They have been there for every part of my life, and they've been patient with me, and they've made me the person I am. But another thing that can contribute to this coming into fruition is social exclusion when you're young. I was just too much of myself. A lot of the kids in my class didn't really understand that, and my friend group, well, I guess friend group, quote unquote, didn't really understand that, and they kind of just excluded me from most social events. I wasn't really invited to any birthday parties. They would have secret, sleepovers without me. I didn't really get picked on teams for like dodgeball, and I guess I've just kind of developed the anticipation of rejection. I just expect that I'm going to get hurt if I trust somebody, and I don't like asking questions. I don't even like being criticized. But that's part of RSD, is that you take any sort of perceived or actual rejection as a personal attack, and it can kill your self-esteem. I mean, it makes you feel like you're less than human sometimes. I actually found out about RSD quite recently because I do this thing where I'm in a pursuit of finding out every single problem that I have mentally. And funnily enough, that's part of RSD, is to hyperfixate on issues and details and how you can define something exactly instead of just accepting it as it is. And that's how I came upon this conclusion, which I guess it kind of helps my brain knowing that I have a clear name behind why I am emotionally the way that I am, because it gives me like a sense of control over myself that I guess I didn't feel like I had before. But with RSD, relationships can feel overbearing to the other person. They don't often understand why you are the way you are. They wish you could just chill out. And it's a mental issue. It's like having bipolar. It's not something you can control. It's just something that you have. And it's something you can cope with. But a lot of people will not understand that. They think that ADHD is just so black and white. It's just an attention thing. And I can't stress it enough. Like, it sucks, man. It is worse than anyone could ever imagine, worse than anyone could ever fathom. Like having all these disorders that you see listed constantly that are seen as serious, all packed into one in like little supplements, not at like, major, but it's all just like little cherry picked. It's just like all these kind of disorders wrapped into one, and it sucks, man. A large part of me just wants to be normal. I want to just be nonchalant sometimes. And sometimes I am, whenever my dopamine levels aren't, craving more and I feel satiated. Yeah, I feel level, I feel emotionally stable. But I want to feel like that, more than 5% of the time. I want to feel like that more consistently. Because a part of ADHD is having that consistency, and when you don't have consistency in relationships, it negatively affects you more than you can ever imagine, This video, I feel like a lot of my thoughts and kind of how I'm talking is very not organized, and I don't really have a script for this video. I'm kind of just going off my head right now, because I want to feel as organic as possible. I don't want to make it sound like I'm talking off of a script, because you can tell when I'm talking off of a script. I really want to say sorry for anybody who has ADHD. I want to say sorry for their girlfriends, boyfriends. I really just want to say sorry for them, because we don't mean to be so overbearing all the time. It's just how we're wired. And I ask of you, if you are watching this and you want to know more about ADHD and how it affects your relationship, please just be patient. Know that anything we say is not from the heart. It's from, we're not reacting to what you say. We're reacting to how our body kind of feels when you say a certain thing, and how it sounds to our body, not to our brain. Well, I guess to our brain, but it's how our brain reacts. It's how our body kind of takes in information, and sometimes our wires get crossed, and we misinterpret things based off of like a computer error almost. That person who overthinks what you're doing, who you really are, your true intentions, your loyalty, they really love you for who you are. They're not just doing that to hurt you. I mean, I really wish I could explain it in a way that would make sense to people who don't have ADHD, and I'm sure anyone who's listening to this video can understand completely what I'm talking about, because a lot of people who do have ADHD kind of have similar thought patterns. Like a lot of what sounds like rambling to the normal person sounds very like relatable to someone who has the same kind of condition, you know? My entire point I'm trying to make is that ADHD affects relationships more than you think. A lot of emotional problems that you have, maybe in a relationship, trust issues, overthinking, emotional insecurities and whatnot, that's more than likely, if you do have a diagnosed ADHD, is it's more than likely due to that. It's not because you're just like that. No, it's really often just due to that. So if you are watching this and you're wondering why you are the way that you are, it's just who you are, man. There's nothing wrong with you. It's how you were born, and that's so beautiful. To be born, you are born to feel things so deeply, and that is the most beautiful thing about certain spectrums of ADHD, is that some people with ADHD think so deeply about everything. They feel everything so intensely. And to be honest, I don't think I'd want it any other way. I'd rather be someone who feels everything than someone who feels nothing. And that's it. See ya.